This is The Bottom Line. The Bottom Line on 938 Live.
IE Singapore says Africa is an attractive market for small Singapore firms as the continent of 1 billion people presents many opportunities. Singapore's trade with Africa is growing at an annual rate of 12% since 2009. In comparison, Indonesia's trade with Africa is growing at almost triple the pace. Malaysia's trade with Africa expanding at twice the rate. So where are the sectors that Singapore businesses should explore in the continent? Travis Teo finds out from G Jayakrishnan, IE Singapore's Group Director for Africa.
Firstly, oil and gas. In the last few years, along the coast of Africa, oil and gas has been found offshore, that means in the sea. Singapore companies have a lot of expertise in helping to extract these oil and gas reserves from the seabed. A second sector that has a lot of potential is the consumption industries. So companies that are involved in the trading and distribution of goods like food and beverage, electronics, industrial products. Third, I should mention the agribusiness industry. Companies that are involved in cash crops, coffee, tea, cotton, rubber, palm oil, they will find opportunity.
Right. I presume a lot of big companies, let's say Ola, Keppel, they'll all be having their eyesight set on Africa. But what about smaller companies, SMEs?
SMEs have been moving quite quickly into Africa in the last 18 to 24 months. First of all, SMEs typically are very entrepreneurial, and the markets in Africa require you to be nimble, to be better able to cope with uncertainty. This is proving to be quite interesting for SMEs. The other important fact is that right now, Africa is still less competitive than many other markets around the world. So there still is a window for opportunity for companies, even the smaller ones, to make an impact in Africa.
Right, you said SMEs are moving quite quickly in the last 18 to 24 months.
Yes.
So how do you substantiate that faster pace?
Yes. Since IE Singapore opened our 2 offices in Africa in 2013, the number of companies that we have assisted between last year and this year, 2014, have doubled. We look at this as quite promising and quite telling about the interest shown by SMEs in the continent.
As there are attractions and all these are good opportunities for businesses, what are the risks in this market? Especially for SMEs, wouldn't they face even more risks than a large MNC?
Yes, there are certainly risks. For example, information is not as readily available about markets and resources in Africa. Transparency is still an issue. So there's counterparty risk, meaning, do you really know who your partner is? Do you know his credibility, his credit worthiness? The other thing about Africa, it's its sheer size and scale. It is a huge continent. There are 49 countries in sub-Saharan Africa. So companies have to be clear about where they'd like to use as a launchpad into the continent. That's where I think IE can help the SMEs and companies to navigate. We can help to do the checks on your potential partners or customers.
So Singapore's trade with Africa has grown at an annual rate of around 12%. How much higher do you think it can go?
Well, it's hard for me to project that one, but the other way to look at it is in terms of the total trade. Right now, the 14 billion bilateral trade that Singapore has with Africa, that constitutes only just over 1% of Singapore's total trade with the world. So looking at that, the upside is tremendous.
Well, I mean, total trade of 14 billion, and that's 1%. So it will go up. It's safe to say that.
I think it will go up, yes.
Okay.
And that was G Jayakrishnan, IE Singapore's Group Director for Africa, speaking to Travis Teo on The Bottom Line.